Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now let the stories begin. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Celebration of You. I am beyond excited to share and celebrate this incredible human being that I feel so blessed to have in my world. And in a moment, you will hear her gorgeous voice. But I want to pause at the start of this show. And I know that there's many times that I like to give shout outs, thanking every continent, all the countries in the world. But I really want to pause and say thank you for all the amazing comments that you send in. I just want you to know I read all of them on iTunes, all of them that come to us personally to the website. And there's one that came in recently from Molecular Biophysics. I can't even say it. And I just, without reading it, I want to say thank you because you brought me to tears. What you embodied is exactly why this show was created, a mission put on my heart to celebrate amazing people that are living extraordinary lives, and not because it's not just about the great success and the money and all that. It's about the life they're choosing to live to make a difference and sharing their story. So I just wanted to say that personal thank you. And it's a great transition into introducing you to today's guest, who you're going to learn much about. Deirdre Breakenridge, you are with me today and you've become my new best friend. Hi.
Hi, and I'm so glad to be with you today and proud to be your new best friend.
Well, it's the moment we connected and we were introduced through a common friend of ours, Cameron, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank goodness for Cameron.
I mean, literally. And he's traveling the world and all over the place, making a difference in our world, which is to be so commended. But you, my dear, we jumped on a call to get to know each other. And I have to tell everybody listening, there were so many things that happened on our call that we both ended up in tears and we're like, yes. How have we not known each other already for the rest of our lives?
Exactly. I wonder that.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell everybody a little bit about you, because I do have to brag on you for a moment, because you do have this, it's like you're this eclectic bouquet of all these extraordinary things. And I'm not even going to give it justice, but I do want you to know that she has been for 2 years in a row. She is one of 250 most influential women leaders in the world. She has been awarded Best 50 Women in Business. And let me tell you, when you hear the things she's doing out there, she is the CEO and founder of Pure Performance Communications. She's been in the PR and marketing world for years and years and years. She's authored 6 books. She's getting ready to do another one. You're a social media icon, and you're also one of the kindest, humblest, most authentic women I feel like I've gotten to get to know in a while. So thank you for sharing your soul and your story with us today, my friend.
Holly, thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction, and you are such a good soul. And I knew that the moment that we connected, and I'm just thankful to have people like you and so many others around me who inspire me.
And isn't that like the heart of what we talked about this, but make sure, and as we go through this time together in this journey, I want people to realize how important it is to make sure you're spending time intentionally with people that support you and lift you up, right? Instead of being with people that drain us and suck the life out of us. Right, girlfriend? I mean, really.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, there's only so much time, and family takes tremendous importance, and friends. And when it comes to your network and colleagues, you really have to keep the people who are going to lift you up. I mean, they'll tell you straight. Don't get me wrong. They can tell you like it is, but it's those who they have your back. And it's really important.
Yes.
Because that's what gets you through.
Totally. And sometimes we have to pause and remind ourselves to reflect and realize, take a moment during this holiday season and make a list of who those people are and let them know how much they mean to you. That doesn't take money, right? That just takes letting somebody know. And it could be the greatest gift they receive in this holiday season.
It's so true. I feel like we rush around so much, especially during the holidays, and We tend to cram as much as we possibly can in. But that little thank you, I use a lot of social media lately. Even, it sounds like it's impersonal, but Twitter for me, I have a friend who I DM every single day for about 5 years now. We're really good friends. I mean, we've met in person. He's met my husband. We've actually done work together. But it's, that little thank you, even through a direct message on Twitter to say, hey, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for all that you've taught me and what you mean to me and that you've been there. Even on Twitter.
Well, you know what I love? I love that you just said that, because we look at social media. I mean, you're the guru, so let's go right into the heart. I want you to share with everybody what you're passionate about right now. You're doing so many different things, so I just want to put it all on the buffet, and then we'll get to the story behind the story. But you just said something, and I don't want to miss this, and that is that, I think we look at social media and we think it's a disconnect from us. It's our brand. It's who we're trying to make ourselves be. But the reality is what people want is the real you. And when you use social media to let somebody know, like what you just said, I think that means the world even more to people, because you're taking the time to do that. So thank you for that nugget. I think that's huge takeaway for all of us. So let's talk about you, girl. Tell us all about all the different things you're doing, because I think it's amazing, all the things you do. And shall we start with your podcast?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you so much. So I believe that you can reinvent yourself through media. And I think that's something that I've done for myself and that I help others do as well. And the podcast there were a few things going on. I'm a book author, as you mentioned, and then I became a blogger in 2007. And then I sort of saw this, first it was an opportunity almost. I heard that there were hardly any women who were podcast hosts back in 2013. It was like this scary percentage at 13%. So I thought, wow, there's an opportunity. But at the same time, I also heard that, I was watching how women were being harassed and bullied, and a woman I met, her daughter had committed suicide because she felt like she had no voice. So that's where Women Worldwide came from. It was to give women a voice and a platform where they could speak and share and be transparent about their struggles in business or life. So my podcast is one example of how I love to educate. For me, media, social media, is all about being an educator and a mentor. And even I teach. I'm a professor. I was at Fairleigh Dickinson in the classroom for 7 years, NYU for 4 years. I'm an online instructor for UMass for the journalism department. And I even use Twitter as a way for my classroom to connect. So there's a lot of education and mentoring. That's what my books are about. That's what I use media for. And it's working. I really feel like the last book I wrote, Answers for Modern Communicators, was because so many people asked me questions on Twitter and on my blog and through Skype, and students all around the world were connecting to me. So I took those questions and actually made it into a book. So education, mentoring, helping, and really giving back, because I'm going on 30 years and I'm so thankful for all the people who have helped me. So I'm just trying to do my part.
You don't even look like you're 30 years old. I'm just saying right now.
Oh, thank you. I really love you. I need to keep you around all the time.
Oh my goodness. I love this. But I had no idea. You just shared a statistic that I wrote down as I'm listening to you, that in 2013, only 13% of the podcast shows were being hosted by women.
Yes. That was scary. And I wanted to definitely change that. So I don't know. It's the Women's Center for Media Studies. I think that's the name of the organization. They do some sort of a report every year, and they talk about women in the media, including podcasting. So I'm hoping that number went up. I think that it has, but certainly what an opportunity for women who have passion like you, who want to help and share. And it's great that we can be out there.
Well, here's the good news. And I'm going to call you as my new friend. I just have to say that the good news is I started my show about almost a year and a half ago. So I'm a statistic. We can now add that, right? We can now say, put that one in the mix, right? And that's just startling. But this has created all the things you do. And there's so many things I don't want to miss here, but this is like a ripple effect for you, because now what you dropped in the conversation with me that one day is NASDAQ. Tell us the story about what's happened with the show you're hosting for them on the streets.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's interesting because the show, and this clearly also says you have to be a bit of a tech tester and experimental with media. And you don't have to go full gangbusters. You sort of have to prove it a little bit first to move forward. With NASDAQ, I was going on the road with them to videotape influencers and speakers at conferences. So I was at the World PR Forum in Toronto, and we had lined up several speakers and influencers who were there, and I was just going to do video with them. And those videos would be taken and used on the NASDAQ Market Insight blog. And we got a call from headquarters. I'll never forget it. And the director of marketing said to me, Deirdre, do you think you want to do a Facebook Live on the NASDAQ Facebook page? And I was like, yeah. So, I love stepping out of my comfort zone. Absolutely.
I love that.
Thank you. And I didn't have time to prepare. It wasn't like, okay, now go back and script your 10 minutes of Deirdre Raw, because that's what they wanted. We had to get over the 10-minute mark to make it effective. Just go and talk and share stories about public relations and how it's changed. So I did that, and it turned into us then interviewing guests on Facebook Live when I was at a couple shows, and it became really popular. And we noticed that people were interested and they were tuning in, and they said, oh, okay, you know what, Deirdre, you're right outside of New York. Let's take this in the studio at MarketSite at Times Square. Well, you twist my arm. I was there with bright smiles and bells on. I was so excited. And, since then, we've seen all different kinds of numbers around the show. It's the PR Influencers series. There was one show we did with Steve Rebell from Edelman. It was like 18,000 views while the show was going on. So some big numbers. And then we started testing. We did panel sessions in the studio. We pivoted to Twitter Live and Periscope. And, after, I guess, a year of doing it, it's been the greatest experience. And once again, I feel like I am doing something to help educate an audience all about public relations, marketing, data intelligence, business. So it fits into the scope of my brand as well.
You know what else that's so powerful about this story is that you are choosing to live a life that you're open to the opportunities that can unfold. And I think that this is a great lesson. I feel like I'm being reminded, it's like you've given me this bonus and this blessing in this conversation, because it's like, don't miss the opportunities that are right in front of us, because we're so busy trying to make something happen somewhere else. Right?
Oh my gosh. That is such a great point. I talk about this in some of when I go and speak to groups. There are huge moments that matter, right? And they're the big ones. And I've had some really big ones in my life where I've had to make major decisions, and they were hugely important. But there are also these mini moments where I don't want to say forced, but we have to make choices all of the time. And if you don't make the right choice in a mini moment, you will never get to that big moment where you can say, yes, I'm going to do this. So I think that as much as we are so busy and hectic, we need to appreciate the mini moments and the compound effects that each one of those moments has on our lives and our careers, because they will take you places, get you to the really, really big moments.
And there is something about my eyes are closed and I'm literally sitting here smiling because I'm picturing like what you and I were talking about before we started the interview. And I said, this is the first time in 10 years I went back to holding my boundaries for the holidays. You remember this conversation?
Yes.
And I said, I am not going to be exhausted and traveling all over the place this month. I'm going to enjoy every moment of the holidays. This is a really special time for me. And that mini moment, I'm smiling because I'm literally waking up and feeling joy and peace. I have no idea what the new year's about to bring, but I'm open, I'm willing, and I'm just kind of grateful to be in a place of being, and I'm enjoying the mini moments.
That's awesome.
So cool that you just said that. I'm like, that's what it is. It's the mini moments, right?
Yes. I mean, this is so important. I can't stress enough that choice that you just made to not break your own rule. And we break our rules all the time, and that tends to set us back. It doesn't really propel us forward. So the fact that you're going to enjoy every single minute and take the time that you need, that's going to lead to one big kick-ass moment.
I love
in
that.
2018. That's the way I kind of see things, the way I feel things. It works.
Oh, and you just wait, because when that kick-ass thing happens, you're going to be the first person. I'm going to be texting you and emailing you and going, guess what? You know what? This is also a beautiful time. The part that makes me in awe of you is that I want people to realize that not only are you doing all of these amazing things globally and sharing, and education is so important to you, and giving and giving and giving. And yes, you've got incredible platforms, but this has not happened without you having to face some adversity and some setbacks, from health to pivotal moments. So I would love to invite you to share with us, what is one or two, or probably the most pivotal moment for you that you could share with us, that, you know, in the midst of making decisions to do what you're going to do, where has there been that moment in your life that was probably the most extreme, or the adversity that you've pushed through? And can you tell us about that and what that's done for you?
Yes. So I don't talk about this a lot or at all, but I will.
Okay, thank you.
So health-wise, I got Lyme disease that went undetected for, I would say, almost 9 months. And it was back at a time when doctors really didn't think to test you for Lyme disease or to ask about it. So it was all the way back in 2007. And I was getting sick every single month for a really long time, to the point where my mom would ask me, what are you doing the third week in February? And I'd say, oh, well, I'm going to have the flu, because I know it, because that's what kept happening. It was really bad. It was right before I got married to my second husband. I did have a lot going on. I was still an agency owner. And I had a very busy agency. We worked with major brands, and it was just getting increasingly tough on me to be so sick, to start a new life. I already, I was a single mom for a while with my daughter, and I was about to embark on a new venture with a lovely man who I'm still with, and second time is
yes, we love that.
Kids, right? So. Yep. When they finally diagnosed me, I had a lot of issues. That what happens with Lyme disease, and what people may not understand, is that I took antibiotics for months to kick the disease, or the active part of the bacteria, the spirochete, out of my body, right? But what it did to my body will be forever. So arthritis, Holly, I mentioned this to you. I have really bad arthritis.
Yes.
I have a Bell's palsy by my mouth. It seriously affected vision in my left eye. When I get run down, I feel these things 10 times worse than what I just deal with normally every day. And, the big defining moment was that I had to make some really big choices about how I was going to have my career and have my new family. And, that's where I really couldn't do the agency anymore. Although I'm sure I've said in the past that it was just time to turn a page. I had written books and, I was going off in a different direction. But when I step back in full transparency, it was a health issue. It was time. I couldn't run an agency, but I do a really good job with my little consultancy. So I'm happy that I did that. And it took a while to get back on my feet. And the lessons that I've learned, just it's taught me so much about being patient with myself, because sometimes my hands don't work and I need to ask for help. If I'm in an airport and I can't lift my bag, I used to be embarrassed and try to lift it and then drop it on everybody. I will just ask some nice person who is around me. I think I told you about a colleague who noticed my droopy mouth when I was feeling run down and told me, "Oh, maybe you want to redo those videos." And I said, "No, that's me. That's who I am. Accept me and love me for who I am." And I just make really smart choices. When I was at Content Marketing World, there was this great party that I wanted to go to. It was a speaker's party. I couldn't go. And I told somebody who asked me, "Oh, are you going to go?" I said, "No, I really need to rest," because I gave a 4-hour workshop. So that's kind of, being good to yourself, just like you made the choice to not break the rule and to not travel and to enjoy every minute. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm doing what's good for my own health, because I feel like when I do that, I can help so many more people. And that's what makes me feel good.
And this is what happens. And I know people that listen to me, I get emotional. I am literally sitting here with tears, and they're tears of joy because you are, this is when I said you're authentic, you are grace, you are all of this. And you impacted my life the day that we talked. And you told me about when that colleague said that, about you should go redo your videos. And I thought to myself,
you're going to make me cry.
No, we cried that day, and now I'm crying again because, if people can hear this, and you can hear the beauty of the soul of Deirdre and what she's doing in this world, and to think how harsh we judge people and how it's back to your whole thing about like using social media to say thank you. Well, you know what? You said, this is who I am. And I truly believe when we stop apologizing for who we are and we realize we've been put here for a reason. And you said it so beautifully. You said, no, I love who I am and this is who I am. I think that was a moment that transformed your life forever, because you give people permission to be who they are. And to stop thinking we have to fit into what others tell us to be or what we should be. I'm big on this. Stop shooting on yourself, girlfriend.
Right.
Right? It's like this shooting. We do it to everybody. But I just don't want anyone to miss this, because this is, to me, what makes you so beautiful. I love this about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You make it easier to talk about, because, for a really, really long time, I was kind of thinking that, sleeping 4 hours a night was really cool because I could get so much done. And there was some kind of shame in saying that, no, I actually need 7 hours at least of sleep to function, to be my best self, so that I can offer really good advice and insights and help other people. So it's a big shift. And I don't know if I grew up that way or where I got this notion from, or if it was because I had 2 male partners in my first agency. And, I have no clue. But now I just really want to stress, be who you are, be good to yourself, because if you're not, you really can't be good to anybody. And my daughter, who is now, she'll be 23 years old in March. She taught me so much, so much about really being good to yourself and being present. And she taught me about relationships. I even wrote about it in my book, because at one point when I was a solo mom, I was kind of absorbed with a lot of things going on with the agency and, having interviews. And we were sitting on the floor, and she was little, and she was, it's going to make me cry. She was, wanted to play a game with me, and I was sitting on the floor, and it was our time. And I was playing, but I wasn't present. And she said to me, "Mommy, are you listening? Are you paying attention to my story?" Mm-hmm. And of course, my mind was just so far off on the next media interview that I had to give. And I felt so crappy, And that right there was the little wake-up call to say, oh my gosh, I really, really, this is the most important thing in my life. I mean, I know that being a business owner and writing the books and teaching was all to make money to make sure that she was provided for. But in essence, it was actually spending time with that relationship and saying no to other things that really weren't relationships or were not as important. So she taught me a lot.
And I just love that you brought that up, because as I'm listening to you, I think that there's so much wisdom we can receive if we're open to it. And even from the young ones and our children, my youngest son, who's actually the same age, he's getting ready to turn 24, but Levi, I'll never forget, almost identical situation. I mean, he was in elementary school, and I remember picking him up, and I was single then, and I was driving him to his football practice, right? You're juggling everything. And by the way, for the world to know, this is before we were giving kids cell phones, there wasn't ways to stay in touch with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he was telling me, I said, "How was your day?" And he was telling me all about something, and I can remember it vividly. Like you could remember sitting on that floor with your daughter. Like you could picture everything in the room. Go back, that many years ago. I can picture the car, and he's telling me all this, and I must have been doing what he told me I was doing. I was going, Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we pull up to a stoplight, and he goes, "Mom," he goes, "what do you think about what I just told you?"
Oh.
And it was out of the mouth. He was in 4th grade. And I go, "I'm so sorry. I can you tell me it again?" He goes, "No." He goes, "It wasn't that important." And I said, "No, it is that important." And in that moment, just like what you said, I pulled the car over to an empty parking lot. I turned the car off, and I turned my body to face him. And I looked at him, and I said, "Levi, you matter more to me than anything else. I want to hear the whole story." And that was pivotal for me, because we're so busy. And, I was so busy thinking about, what I didn't get done and the clients I needed to contact. Like my head was so far. And yet the people that matter the most to us, our loved ones, our significant others, our extended family and friends, look who gets the crappy end of the deal from us.
Crappy end.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful story. Did he share with you?
Yes, he did. He did.
He
looked at me, and he did, and he was smiling, and he had his cute little dimples. I remember getting really emotional, and I apologized. I think the greatest gift we can give our children too is to own up to not trying to be perfect. We are not perfect. We do the best we can. And I've always believed that you don't have to be perfect to be priceless. But I do believe as parents, the gift that we can give our children is to be normal and human. And I apologize when I need to, and I think that's a pivotal moment for everybody in our life to realize, right? Like own it. When you
own it.
Yep. Own it. Look at us.
Yeah. This whole thing of perfect is scary. And I think it does mess up the youth of today and the future youth. There is no perfect. I think kids should know that you make mistakes, and you own up to it. I know that social media tends to make us look perfect, and that's really hard and takes a toll, especially on younger professionals, millennials who are in the workplace, and even millennial leaders, because they grew up with social media. So it is a very big part of their world. And, I know my daughter has said to me, because she's a vegan blogger, and she does a lot on Instagram.
Cool.
And it's really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
She loves, she also works for me, part-time, because she just graduated from college and she has a degree in PR and communications. But it's almost like she'll point out some folks who are doing things and their stuff always looks so great. And, I'm just not there. Why isn't what I'm doing as good? Or how come it's not perfect? That P word, which is such a bad word.
Yes.
It's like the F word.
Let's put it in that category. I love that. Let's
Yeah.
stick it in that ugly category with those other bad words.
Exactly. So I think there is tremendous pressure on younger professionals, but we gotta keep it real, and just kind of maybe share a little bit more of what else is going on. And if you're not going to share it through social media, then maybe it's a private conversation with somebody, or it's at least letting the people around you know that, you need help. Like there's no shame
Yes.
in that, or things are going on and I need advice, whatever it takes, or I made a mistake. I find myself like, I'll be the first, I'll never forget. This just happened recently. So I have a class, I mentioned UMass, and it wasn't this past semester, but it was a summer course. We were together for 6 weeks, and we use a Twitter community. So it's a hashtag UMass PRSM. And we all talk through the hashtag. And one of the students at the very end of the class, she reached out publicly on Twitter and she said, I'm really sad. I'm really sad that my professor at Deirdre Breakenridge didn't talk to me.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, because, I immediately apologized and said, I am so sorry. I don't know how this happened and I want to talk to you. And I think you're all doing wonderfully. There's a lot of conversation that goes on. And if you don't put an @ reply, like at Deirdre Breakenridge in your tweet, then I don't see it in my mentions.
Got
and
it. Yes.
I'm always looking
Yes.
at my mentions column, and that's what I'm responding to. When it comes to the hashtag and everybody who's talking in the class, I scan it, and then I usually, some I respond to, some I retweet, and by luck of the draw, it just didn't hit her.
Oh.
And I felt terrible. But in any case, what I'm trying to say is I say I'm sorry all the time, like own up to it.
Yes.
I make a lot of mistakes.
But what a great pivotal moment too for you and for your class. And like you just said, what are the odds? It was like Murphy's Law, the one person, right? Like the one mentioned, the one is the one that took it so personally. But that also reminds you, and I think there's a silver lining here. And this is a great way to tie this up, because I think the silver lining is sometimes we don't realize how important we are to others and how much what we do and say matters. So in a way, Deirdre, it was almost a confirmation to realize how much your students value you and how important, this isn't an ego thing. This is more about, an affirmation to you doing the work you've been put here to do, to be that messenger, and you are valued for it. So I think that's the silver lining.
That is so nice to hear. I mean, I'm hoping that that's it. I pour my heart and soul into the classes, and I just hope my students know. I think they do. I think I have had some really, really good feedback where somebody would say, you know what, I feel like I'm equipped, I'm armed, I'm ready for this social media thing. Thank you so much. I've learned. That makes you feel really, really good.
Oh, it should. Well, I love to ask my guests one closing question before we tie this up. And it's been an amazing time with you. And I so appreciate this. If you were to go back to your 25-year-old self and you were to give her advice based on who she was then and who you are today and what you know in all of these beautiful years and wisdom, what advice would you give that young 25-year-old self?
Oh, boy. I would say have courage. You can do it, and you can do it alone. You're not trapped. I was in a marriage then, very young, and knew it wasn't right. And that you have a really strong support system around you, but you have to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say.
I love that. And I think that's great wisdom for any age and any gender and any culture. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. People actually want to help. They just don't know how sometimes, right?
Right. I want to help.
Oh, well, I have already decided. So I'm just in awe of you. And I've decided you and I are going to talk again because I would love to get some guidance, wisdom, and your expertise as I go into the new year on things I could be taking to the next kick-ass leap. I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like I'm very low on the totem pole of understanding PR and all that, but that's another conversation. So I think everybody wants to know how to learn more from you, learn more about you. So in honoring you, for those listeners that want to learn more about you, know about your shows, your books, how would you like them to reach out to you?
Oh, well, thank you. So you can always find me on Twitter. I'm at D Breakenridge, and Breakenridge is Breakenridge. I have an author's blog website. It's DeirdreBreakenridge.com. And my company is Pure Performance Com with 2 M's.com. And that's how you can find me.
I love it. I love all those great options. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Holly. I just can't tell you how I love talking with you, and I love what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I am so excited because I get to be a guest on your show in the early part of the new year. So
awesome.
We will have so much fun helping each other keep doing what we do because we're doing it to make a difference in the world. And your story will bring hope. And I always believe that there might be one person who's sitting in a shadow of darkness, feeling they're the only one out there. And this is how we bring hope. So thank you, my new best friend, for being in my life.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be in your life.
Oh, we will talk very soon. Bye.
Definitely. Bye.
Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly, though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.